thanks for being here today. What we're going to do is go around and do some introductions, and then we'll talk a little bit about overview of our time together, and then we're going to go into the main session about increasing our ability to adapt. We're going to talk about recognizing the need to adapt, how to figure out what the change that your club needs to make will be, implementation. Obviously, once you decide how you're going to, where you're going to go to the change, how you're going to implement that. And then obviously it's always important to review and revise your plan and make sure that, the change that you're trying to implement is working. Because, obviously there's sometimes things need to be tweaked. So this is going to be an open discussion with the group. I'll share some Rotary tools that we have too. And we'll go ahead and do our introductions. And when we do the introductions, let's wow. Oh, there it is. So you can see it sort of lightly on the screen. It's not very dark. So let's everyone know your name, your club, and then what's something your club has recognized the need to or has changed in the last year. So I will stop the share here and we will go back to the gallery view. Wow. I'm not having a good computer day. There's the mouse. All right. So Patricia, do you want to start with a introduction?
Yes, Patricia Bogie, downtown La Crosse. I'm also assistant governor for Group 3. Probably the biggest change, which is going to come as no surprise because it probably applies to every group, is to having to pivot and try to figure out how to keep our members engaged while meeting virtually. Yeah, that's the biggest change. Nothing new there.
And up next, I don't think Justin is on the line. Justin, are you there by chance? No? Okay. Larry? Oh, there you are. Is it Larry or Lawrence?
Larry.
Hi, Larry. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Larry Klaus, and I'm from Marshfield Sunrise, and I'm a past president, and I'm currently treasurer, and for about 15 years, I've been the youth exchange officer, so I've worn a lot of different hats. Actually, we haven't had much trouble keeping the club going on Zoom. In fact, our attendance on Zoom is considerably higher than it was in person, which was quite a surprise to us. I think the real problem is figuring out how to do a service project while maintaining social distancing. And the other thing is it's difficult to figure out how to raise money because the projects that we usually use to raise money are difficult to do in a socially distanced kind of fashion.
Most definitely, most definitely. Martha, do you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Martha Cladd. I'm from the Toma Club, and I'm also the district trainer. And I think the thing that we've changed for a lot of years, we've talked about our meeting schedule and everything like that. And so I think COVID helped move us into going from meeting weekly to meeting twice a month and trying to take a look at how much it costs for people to participate.
Got it. Laura.
Hi, I'm
Hey, Laura.
Yep, I'm a member of the After Hours Club, past president, youth exchange counselor, also the new youth liaison for the district. Still trying to figure out what that really means, but I'm working on it. One of the things we have realized over the last, I would say, couple of months is that some of our committee chairs had been in their role for quite some time. So we have worked on a committee chair and co-chair where they're in like a 2-year position. So that way somebody like myself doesn't get stuck with or stays as the committee chair for service for 4 or 5 years at a time. So that's kind of what we've been looking at, is making sure that we're not burning out those committee chairs and cycling through new members as they come in.
Yeah, Laura, I had the same situation where I had the same role in my Rotary Club for 8 years, and then, you know, finally had the opportunity to change. I mean, it was a rewarding one, but, you know, definitely something to let other people learn and, you know, try that role and that leadership role, but then also you can do more. Let's see, there you are, Bethany, why don't you go next?
Hey everybody, Bethany Lewis. I'm a member of the Menominee Sunrise Rotary Club, currently the president-elect. Our big thing that we recognized is our club is active in a food packaging program, along with the Menominee Noon Club and the Chippewa Valley After Hours Club. And we haven't been able to package because we needed to figure out how to socially distance and do it safely. So we actually just held our first packaging this last weekend by having the volunteers be family units. And so we had family units of 4 people able to package, and then everyone else was distanced. So that was a big win. We did about 2 pallets of food this weekend, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I know the Madison After Hours Club has done some opportunities like that, and you know, with in Madison, there's the Second Harvest Food Bank, and so there's opportunities where clubs can volunteer for events like that, where it is really well set up for social distancing. So, Jeff, do you want to go next?
Hi, Jeff Sexauer, Lacrosse, Rotary East. I'd probably say ours is engagement, because we have a lot of folks that like to do things, be active socially and in the community, and this has presented a lot of challenges. And the first, I don't know, I'd probably say 5 months of COVID is where we really slumped, and now we're kind of coming up with new ways, like you guys said, doing things in like small groups. Like we did the Chad Erickson Park cleanup the other day. We had groups of 4 or 5 people, and we're all in the woods so we can socially distance. And then after we got done, about half an hour later, another group came in just to kind of keep things rolling. So it's been a challenge, but we've been slowly adapting to it.
Yeah, I know the Madison After Hours Club had tried one sort of hybrid outdoor meeting where they, you know, made a big socially distanced circle, and you know, it's great to where you can safely do those in-person activities. So let's see, Lynn Wood, you want to go next?
Yeah, hi. We just had our first, what the question was, what have we been doing differently? And like everyone else, our hybrid models are, we're getting better at it, but it never seems to go perfectly, as I think, you know, we all know. But we participated in some community events, all socially distant. We had our big fundraiser of the summer as a complete giveaway this year. So we had 700 cars come through Traxel Park, and we gave away free sweet corn as just a feel-good community event. So anyway, that's all I'll say, but what everybody is saying is what we are feeling as well. You know, I feel like there's a tsunami about to hit our community, and it hasn't hit yet, but it's going to hit. And we're ready. We're ready to jump in and help, but I don't know that the need has been identified yet.
Well, and the other thing is for all of our clubs, you know, with winter approaching, some of those activities that we could do outside are going to become a little more difficult. So, Margot, do you want to go next? Margot, do you want to unmute? There you go.
Okay. I am just in the process of leaving the Lodi Rotary Club and switching over to the Baraboo Rotary Club. I've attended a number of their Zoom meetings. Other than that, I haven't had a lot of experience with that club yet. So I'm not sure about a lot of their changes over the last year right now.
Well, Margot, you'll have a unique experience getting to meet a lot of your new fellow Rotarians via Zoom.
Yes, they did have a meeting. It was probably a couple months ago in the park in Baraboo. So there were like 5 or 6 members there that I got to meet. But other than that, it's been a little tough to get to know people. So,
Thomas, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm the treasurer of the Eau Claire Morning Rotary Club. We did an outdoor event every year that we do with cleaning up the area parks. We did hold one meeting outdoors early in the pandemic. Now we are meeting by way of Zoom. The one thing that we're looking at is a major change is that when we go back to being able to meet in person, we bought a conference cam, and we will be able to have a big screen TV in the room, and those that can't make it to the meeting can join via Zoom. Our meeting tomorrow morning, we have some people from a school in Nepal that will be joining us, and we just donated over $3,000 to them for a food pantry because they are so in need of food to the point that people are committing suicide because they can't feed their families. So we are going to get to see video and everything. Apparently it was a huge, huge success. So that's the neat part about it, is that being able to have speakers from all over the world. Our big thing that we've done recently was a fun event, not a money-making event. I don't know if any of you have heard of Rainworks.
No.
But we went around our downtown area, put stencils on the pavement, and sprayed it with the spray that Rainworks makes. And then 24 hours later, you can let it get wet when it rains or whatever. The spray repels the water, so the cement around it gets dark, and you get to see what was there. So in front of the fire station, we did one with a fire hat that said thank you. We did a hopscotch on the bridge, the footbridge and all. And we have never had as much publicity after the fact that we did with this. We have 2 TV stations in town. They both did stories on it and interviews. The Volume 1, which is a entertainment type publication as to what's going on in the area. They did a story on it. Sarah Stackhouse is going to be, is in another breakout. She was the one that came up with the idea. She got approached by somebody in the country of Hungary wanting to know how they could go about doing it. And it even showed up on a TV station in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. We're still not quite sure how that happened, but you know, it definitely is very uplifting into our club. But one of the things in the earlier breakout session, somebody asked, how do we get and keep our members involved with not meeting in person and meeting via Zoom? I just had a conversation with the deacon at my church, and he's saying the same thing is happening. People are getting out of the used to going to church, so they're not getting involved in any of the committees or anything like that in the church as well. And I think it's just going to be that alone is going to be a pandemic for virtually all organizations. But thank goodness somebody came up with Zoom, because that's been a lifesaver for all of us.
Yeah, think what would things would have been like if this pandemic would have happened, 10 years ago. I think about 10 years ago for work is when I started using some of these tools. But really, until, for all these years, a year ago, would you have thought of bringing in a remote speaker via Zoom to your club meeting? There's a lot of our committee meetings that were occurring in person. And I think I've heard this from other people. Maybe Larry, you'd mentioned it, that the you're getting better attendance. Our board meetings for the Downtown Madison Club are actually near perfect attendance, where that wasn't always the case before. So I don't want to forget Susan. So Susan, I think last and most importantly, your introduction.
Oh my goodness. I'm Sue Tomaszek. I'm the YEO for Onalaska Hilltopper Rotary, and I think we are probably the only club in the state we have been meeting in
Ah,
person since we were allowed to. We get spaced, hopefully safely. Our board meetings are all in person, and we are moving slowly in adapting to Zoom technology. We just ordered one of those cameras that one of the participants spoke about to improve our Zoom quality. But the people who are showing up, numbers are consistent, 1 to 5, trickling in on Zoom for our meetings or for board meetings, whatever it might be. So it was important to us to continue meeting in person, and so we're trying to make that work as we learn to adapt to Zoom and how to function with our Zoom.
cool. Thank you. All right, I'm going to try the screen share here one more time in a little different mode.
Jason, did we
Yep.
get Francis? Did you get to introduce
Oh,
yourself?
did I miss someone?
I joined your
Oh,
group, so
oh, sorry,
afterwards,
Francis.
so that's okay. That's okay. My name is Francis Parker. I'm with the Madison Breakfast Club. I've been with them just a couple years now. Joined in large part because we have been active with Youth Exchange as a club for a long time. So in terms of the thing that's changing the most for us, that's, everyone's talked about the meetings and some of that. And we've gotten a lot of really great speakers, but I think it's a lack of having that exchange student. And in the Madison area, they've already decided that we won't have an exchange student in 21-22 as well. So that is just a big gaping hole for us, with a lot of us that had a lot of experience and heartfelt excitement about having exchange students. And there's your cat. Hello.
Yep, that's Lucy making an
Lucy
appearance here.
Introduced.
Yeah, this is Lucy. There's Jasper. My wife got them from Oshkosh at the shelter there. So, yeah, she just wanted to inspect our meeting here. So let's try screen share again, and I'll go through some things here. And just to make it I'm leaving it in this mode here. So next slide here. What I wanted to say is, Rotary, even from the start, here's a quote from Paul Harris about how, the world is a changing world and we must be prepared to change with it. And I also think of a quote from Shakespeare, be not afraid of greatness. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, others have greatness thrust upon them. And I sort of twisted that quote a little bit, and I said, be not afraid of adapting. Some are born to adapt, some learn to adapt, and others have adaption thrust upon them. And the way I think about that is COVID. I mean, a lot of our clubs here have really had to make big changes due to the COVID situation. Interestingly enough, Rotary International must have had quite the crystal ball, because part of our action plan was increasing our ability to adapt. And this was created, year or two before the current COVID crisis. So first thing, a little bit of talk about here is recognizing the need to adapt. I mean, obviously COVID, it's thrust upon us and we have to adapt. But I wanted to have a little bit of discussion about evaluating our club's activities and share with you some tools that we have for, that Rotary International has in regard to assessments. So I will hit stop sharing again, and wanted to just open it up. What are some things your clubs do to periodically evaluate your activities? Do any of you do formal surveys? Have you ever checked out the Rotary International Health Check materials? And I'm going to chat a link to you for some resources. So Jeff, did you raise your hand, or are you talking to somebody offline? Jeff? think Jeff's muted.
Yes, go ahead. I had an issue for a second.
Oh,
What was that again?
oh, did you have something to say about evaluating your club's activities, or were you just waving to somebody off screen? I couldn't tell.
Oh, I was waving to somebody off screen.
Cool.
Sorry, now my dog or cat, sorry.
So, anyone want to share what their clubs do to periodically evaluate how they're doing?
I can, after hours in lacrosse, every year we send out an engagement survey to our members. We ask about the different committees that we have, different events that we're doing. We ask for recommendations about what people would like to do and also what they don't want to keep doing. So each year, the membership committee sends that out, and then each of the different committee chairs review it with the board to just determine if we need to basically start, stop, or keep doing certain activities.
Good, good. Yeah, our club does an annual membership survey also every year. So, you know, depending on the size of your club, you know, nowadays the Google tool, Google, you know, there's also SurveyMonkey. There's a lot of easy ways to do a survey. Laura, for example, when you came into being club president, did you by chance talk to good number of members to try to just get a gauge, hands-on survey?
Yeah, I had been a member of the club for a couple of years, and I was club secretary before I became president. So I had a pretty good handle on what people wanted, but I also chatted with the committee chairs. Sorry, my dog growling in the background. I had met with each of the committee chairs, and I asked them to also reach out to different members before we met to get their feedback. So that way when we had our discussions, it was based on actual conversations with other club members.
Cool, cool. Yeah, it's good to follow up. Let me, I'm going to flip onto the screen here, slide, and this one here is go over some of the tools that are available on RI's website. So all these tools usually you have to be logged into your My Rotary account. So if you're not logged into My Rotary and you've created an account, definitely encourage you to do that. So first one here is the strategic planning guide, which is a very lengthy one that club leadership team could go through to evaluate their club. Another brochure on being a vibrant club. Membership assessment tools, and if you haven't created your own membership survey, Rotary International has a membership survey that you can work from, and they also have another one there called the Rotary Club Health Check. So I chatted out the link to those resources for everyone there. So let's hit stop share again. So next thing we wanted to talk about is, as we're evaluating our club's experiences, there's a couple different areas we want to look at. You should look at your service and socials. Let's talk about club socials. Since that's definitely a unique thing right now with COVID. So what are some examples of how you guys have adapted your club's socials in COVID, whether in person or on Zoom?
We're in the midst of planning to get together and do a bonfire and just sit around and visit and be socially distanced. And if it snows up here, by the time we get that done, we'll get to be warm around the fire. In the past, we've been doing the last year, our socials. We have a beer and wine trail that we started a year and a half ago. So we're trying to go around and support the bars and breweries that are participating by having our socials there. But since COVID, we've not been able to do that.
So Larry, you mentioned the challenge with raising money in service projects. What research or what is your club starting to think about in those regard? You want to talk about that in a little more detail, or what help are you needing in that regard?
Actually, we're not trying to do anything different. We're just trying to find different ways of doing what we used to do before.
Mm-hmm.
The major
Yeah.
fundraiser for our club is a rose sale that we do in this month in October and November. But the problem is you can't meet with your the people you sell to in person, and even delivering the roses is going to be a bit of a challenge too. So we're still working on that. We did work out ways to allow people to charge their purchases to a credit card via PayPal when everything before was done by cash or check. So we have made some adaptations, but I think we're concerned that our major fundraiser is going to be a flop because of the difficulty of trying to sell anything in a situation where all of the contact with people is via email or telephone.
Yep.
And then, yeah, you need to somehow grab their attention. Yeah, I agree. Do you think are you trying different avenues through social media in promoting the event?
I don't think that's come up yet.
Because that could be
my club's a little social media. The median age is in the 50s.
Well, the Downtown Madison Club, they always said the average age was dead, but I think it's now down to 85. So
Wow.
no, we're not that bad, but we are up there. Thing with the larger group of numbers, we do have the diversity. In the Marshfield area, that could be somewhere where possibly looking to. Do you guys have a Interact club by chance in the high school, or any other younger group of people that you could engage in that effort?
We did found an Interact club a couple of years ago, but I haven't heard any reports about what's going on. I suspect their activities are suspended because even the high school is only working. People only go to classes about 2 days a week, and the rest of it's done virtually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The UW-Madison Rotary Club is doing probably what a lot of our Rotary clubs are doing, and they've put together a series of Zoom meetings with speakers, and I don't think they've done any hands-on service projects yet, obviously with the challenges on campus with COVID right now. So we went over, we talked about the tools for assessment. Another thing I wanted to share with you is, when you get to implementation of a change, it's really important, to have a good rollout, good communication. Our club had two major changes that we had to do. Many of the larger downtown clubs, and I don't know, we pre-charged for meals, so everyone had to buy 24 meals every 6 months, and our club budget was actually based on uneaten meals. So probably 40% of our club meals weren't ate, and so that money actually helped support the general club budget. And so when COVID hit, that really caused some challenges. How do you charge members for 24 meals, knowing that they're not going to get them at all? Yeah, it's different when you choose, Lynn, not to go to lunch. That's your choice. So we had to go into a pretty major effort. We formed an ad hoc committee to try to study what we could do, and that made some recommendations to our club board, and our club board adopted a change. So we actually had to raise dues, but then we ended up basically we're not going to probably charge for meals for the rest of for maybe 9 months now. And so that helped. That helped. But what I wanted to say is, your clubs make changes. I'm going to send another handout to you via a link here on the Zoom. Change management is really important, and probably one of the things that I want to highlight on the change management handout that I'll send along here is the importance of finding champions. For instance, Laura, an after hours club, relatively new club. What nights do you guys meet on?
We meet on the second and fourth Tuesday of every month.
On Tuesdays. And your club's been in existence approximately 10 years, is that correct?
10 years next March. It's our birthday. There'll be a big party.
Cool. Well, Aaron and I already came up for the Rotary Lights up there, so maybe we'll make a return. Maybe we'll make a return visit. So even though the lacrosse after hours is a newer club, now is an opportunity with COVID to look at things. The Madison After Hours Club was always meeting on Sunday nights, and now they're experimenting a little bit just before COVID hit with, do we do some Sunday brunches? And those turned out to be a lot of fun. And so COVID, in a sense, creates an opportunity, the need to change. The example I was just telling you about, where the downtown Madison Club was basically using uneaten lunches to support their budget, was something that everyone was aware of, and probably should have been changed years ago, but there wasn't the impetus, the drive, the energy to make that change, because obviously it was a big change. So as you're thinking about your club, now is a time to really look at things, and I think people will be more understandable if you make a big change. One of you guys mentioned that did you go to bi-weekly? I'm trying to remember. Because of COVID now, did somebody say their club switched from every week to bi-weekly?
Toma did. They used to meet every week. And so since we're getting back together in person, and we're doing it on the first and third Tuesdays instead of every week so far. So we're just going to see how that works and see if that works better for people's schedules, and then kind of reevaluate at the end of the year to see if we want to continue to do that.
Sounds like a good plan. Martha, are you trying to offer some kind of hybrid option?
We will be. The place we're meeting with right now wasn't set up, but they got recently put in some new technology, so we should be able to offer, you can come in person, or we'll also be able to do it by Zoom. So we're hoping to offer that ability.
Yeah, our club plans on continuing live streaming even once we're back, even to, I think, full strength. You have people that just can't make the meeting because something pops up, and then it's recorded to Zoom or YouTube, and people can watch the meeting later. Or we have a few snowbirds in our club, and we've realized that they like popping in and watching the meetings. And actually one of the couples is really active in our music committee. And so they may actually even participate by sending videos of patriotic songs or different songs. They their son helps them, and they actually put together videos.
So Jason, you mentioned early, though, I think by doing a hybrid, continuing in the future with a hybrid model, it does two things. One, it opens up to members coming from all kinds of places. So we actually had a member who moved back over. She was from Germany, and she's been joining us from Germany because she's able to, since we're Zooming. So that's kind of fun. And then you can get speakers from different places when you have the hybrid model. And then my third point would be that I mentioned that we have exchange. We've had a long history of exchange students, and we were connecting with them but once a year. And so one of the things we're looking at now is, can we invite them back with some frequency, or just keep in touch with them, or do something with our exchange students if we stay in the hybrid model more frequently than the once a year touch point we've had. So those are just some things.
Yeah, that could be a lot of fun. I mean, I could even see the scenario where, once a month you could have an exchange student, maybe not even as your full program, but they could even just, share something for, 5 minutes and say hi. The other one is, nothing wrong with video messages now that you're a little more set up in club meetings. With the video setup, you could play messages from past exchange students. Yeah, I hosted.
We actually invited all of our exchange students back for a meeting, and it was at the very beginning of COVID.
Uh-huh.
Basically, how is COVID affecting you in your world right now? And it was one of our higher attended meetings because everybody was just really excited to see the kids again, and they were really excited to kind of reconnect with us. So Downtown La Crosse is doing that as a program, I think on November 5th is what Jack just sent me a message. So highly recommend that one. That one went over really well with our club.
It does sound like a lot of fun, Laura. I mentioned before that technology has been around for about 10 years, and unfortunately or unfortunately, COVID thrust it upon us, and now we can take advantage of it. I obviously hope to get back to in-person meetings, and no, wait, was it Susan? Did you say your club is meeting in person, right? Yeah, you've been able to do that. Yeah, that's great. We were naive a little bit. I think, I'm in Madison, and we thought maybe 3 weeks after, we were planning on going back to the hotel, thinking we could have 50 people in a room, and that's why then we got into live streaming, because we knew there are people that couldn't attend. Our average meeting attendance is like 180 to 225. So, but then, with all the further restrictions and things, right now, I don't think we're going to meet in person. Could be 6 or 9 months, maybe even, even if Madison goes back, find the place that you used to be meeting at. Are they ready to host you, too? So have any of you had to find, has any of the places that you were meeting said they can't host you anymore, or has anyone had any changes with their host locations?
We actually have the place we were originally meeting. It wasn't huge, but our club I think we have about 35 members. So if we were all there, it was tight, but it worked. So it just wasn't an option for us anymore, and they aren't ready to open up. So we actually found a new spot that has a big meeting room, and so we call it Room and Zoom. So we offer either in person or via Zoom. But the room's big enough, and last week we had 15 people in person and then another 8 online. So it's worked out pretty well.
That's really good. That's really good.
Where we were meeting, they limited it to 10 people, and we really had 3 or 4 that were starting to show up, and we decided we just couldn't afford to rent the room because their kitchen wasn't open, so we couldn't eat breakfast. One thing to throw out real quick though here with why keeping a hybrid meeting in the future would be good. I think it might have been the district governor when he met with us mentioned it, but he suggested teachers, that there are probably teachers and other people that would love to be a Rotarian, but they can't go to a noon meeting or a breakfast meeting because they have to be at school, but they might be able to get on the computer and be a part of it through Zoom. So I don't know how we approach that, but I thought that was an interesting idea.
Yeah, definitely. Or even as you evaluate, do you sometimes have a meeting in the evening, or, like the Sunday brunch idea? I don't know about you, Laura, but the Madison After Hours has picked up a couple teachers because they meet on Sunday nights. So that's one of the few, teachers can't go to a breakfast meeting typically or a lunch meeting. So have you been able to pick up, do you have a handful of teachers in your group or not really?
We have college professors,
College.
but high school or elementary school teachers at this time, no.
No, not at this time right now.
One of the things that we've done to try and adjust some of the Zoom meetings so that it's not just basic Zoom, we've taken a couple members to outside locations. We had a beekeeping meeting and 2 of our members went to yard and she taught us all about beekeeping. And this last week we learned all about the cranberry bogs in Toma. The Bossards were nice enough to let us check out their whole thing. So instead of taking all of us to a location, which would be really difficult, 2 members, in order to keep levels down, went and attended and then Zoomed in from there. And that was, I thought it was really interesting just to kind of mix up the standard speaker type scenario and have it be a little bit more active as well. So that's been really fun to do.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I sat in on the bee one. That was quite unique and quite original. That was great. That was great. So we have a few more minutes left. Any parting comments from other people? Best practices to share with the group that you have?
Jason, I don't know that it's best practices, but you brought up the meals and then dues and those kind of things. And I do think when you talk about adapting, that is a place. Jeff mentioned their place of meeting closed. We're a breakfast club. We're looking at whether not that we're going to change from meeting in the morning, but do we meet in our same location and charge for meals? Because a lot of our club wasn't eating even when they did attend, because now people's choices and diets vary so much and some of that. So I think how we figure out our operating budgets and how we allocate our costs across membership is definitely something we're going to have to adapt and be flexible with. That, ways to get creative in meeting spaces, even if we are hybrid and that kind of thing. So I just see that as a big change that our club anyway had not had to look at ever before, and coming into this next year, not this year because we've kind of figured out, but with fundraising and are we meeting, and there's a lot of unanswered questions that we can't go multiple years on a skinny budget or dipping into our reserves. So it's a big issue for us in the future.
Yeah, good point, Francis. The after hours model, at least with the Madison After Hours Club, they've found places, whether it's a bar or a hotel, where they rent the room. Luckily, the Madison After Hours Club was able to get a room for about $50, and then people could order a la carte from the adjacent bar. And that might be a little easier said than done at a breakfast place. But Laura, is your club set up similar to that? That you don't have meals included in your?
We do light appetizers currently through the Radisson and La Crosse. However, we've been looking at alternate options to mix it up as well. Yeah, but light apps, sometimes they're worth the $13, and sometimes I get really annoyed that I just paid $13 for some cheese and crackers. So I think that there's some frustration there. Their definition of light app for a 6 p.m. meeting after you've worked a whole day of work is not the same as what ours is sometimes. So we've definitely looked at other options, looked for some of the a la carte options as well. I think Chippewa Valley After Hours has the same thing where you order as you need. We don't pre-charge for our meals, so if somebody does come and doesn't want to eat, then they don't have to necessarily pay, but we don't also police the appetizer bar either. So
Got it. Yeah, when I said for 8 years I did the same thing in Rotary. I hosted our new member events, and so I remember a limited budget, and when you go to some places for $150 of appetizers, you get a lot, and other places you you wouldn't get much at all. So I see we had the 2-minute warning coming up here. I want to thank everyone for taking time on this Wednesday night to come out and participate. Really enjoyed Melanie. You know, she reminded me when I was president, our downtown club, we sing still, and I always would try to remember to tell the speakers and guests that, warn them about that ahead of time, because there are some things that a typical Rotary Club does that might seem a little out of step with a younger, more hip audience. So with that, I think we are almost about at the end of our time. So again, thanks everyone for participating. We're going to be heading back into the main room, and I think Ben's going to have some wrap-up comments and stuff like that. Oh, let me, I'll put my contact information here in the chat, and so if you want to follow up, but yeah, take a look at that change management handout that I had linked up here. It was something that Dean Ryerson presented at Midwest Pets this year. I think it was developed by a Rotary Club of out in the New York area. So, oh, wow, 17 seconds to go. So with that, let's wave bye to everyone, and we'll see you on the other side of the Zoom.
Thanks, Jason.
Yep, bye-bye.